Yeah, I don't know, Ally's had that problem.
All right, we'd like to begin. Thanks for joining us tonight for the Lisbon Town Council organizational meeting, which is held on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in December. Please note that next year, this meeting will not be on the first Tuesday, since it's after the first Monday in December. I'd like to introduce the Lisbon Color Guard. Please welcome firefighters Brian Guay and Tim Barry. All rise for the presentation of colors. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would like to recognize Councilor Pesky at this time.
Let's take a moment to thank Chairman Ward for her service to the town of Lisbon. It is a pleasure for me to extend personally, as well as on behalf of the town council and the citizens of Lisbon, a most sincere appreciation for your dedication and commend you for your manner in which you carried out your duty as a Lisbon Town Councilor for the previous 3 years and as Chairman for the past year. This year has been a unique year for Lisbon and for the Town Council. As Chair, you are always up to the challenge, whether it was delivering good news or delivering news that some would not approve of. Once again, thank you for your service to the citizens of Lisbon. The detailed leadership you brought to the town of Lisbon and the Council will definitely be missed. One thing that Lisa and I have done as chair and vice chair, we've been to a lot of meetings together, that meeting after meeting after meeting, and one thing I learned is Lisa loves a good pen. So something in here for you that will, along that same line, that I think you appreciate.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you all. I really appreciate everything. I especially appreciate the mutual respect that I have definitely had the privilege of seeing on this council. And I know that I'll see much more of it, and I look forward to working with you in different ways from this point forward. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
4,135 ballots were cast on November the 4th, resulting in the following candidates being elected into office. Town Council at Large, Dale James Kraft, with 1,955 votes. One school committee member, Gina Mason, with 34 write-in votes. And a water commissioner, Kenneth Wells, with 3,066 votes. Will Councilor Dale Crafts please come forward to be sworn in? Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I solemnly swear
I solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and will obey the laws
and will obey the laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state of Maine,
and of the state of Maine,
that I will,
and that I will,
in all respects,
in all respects,
observe the provisions
observe the provisions
of the Charter
of the Charter
and ordinances
and ordinances
of the town of Lisbon,
of the town of Lisbon,
and will faithfully
and will faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office
of the office
of town council.
of town council.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Enjoy the And would school committee member Gina Mason please come forward to be sworn in? Please raise your hand and repeat after me. I solemnly swear
I solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
and will obey
and will obey
the laws
the laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state of Maine,
and of the state of Maine,
that I will,
that I will,
in all respects,
in all respects,
observe the provisions
observe the provision
of the Charter
of the Charter
and ordinances
and ordinances
of the town of Lisbon,
of the town of Lisbon,
and will faithfully
and will faithfully
discharge
discharge
the duties of office
the duties of office
of the school committee.
of the school committee.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Sign here. Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
Kenneth Wells came into the office last week to be sworn in, so we congratulate each of our candidates on winning their seats. The next item of business is the election of council chairman for the year. Nominations are open.
I nominate Dylan Pesky.
Are there any other nominations? Seeing no further nominations, would you please vote with a raise of your hand? All those in favor? All those opposed? And the motion carries. So that was, did you abstain? All those abstained?
I didn't, but I can. There was no money involved, so I didn't think I needed to abstain.
That's fine then. We'll do 7-0. Just wanted to double check. The election. The election of council vice chairman for the year, and nominations are open.
I nominate Roger Bickford.
Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor raise your hand. And all those opposed? And those abstained? So, vote passed 601. All right, and the next item of business is to present the gavel to the chairman. And congratulations is in order for a new year. I'd like to give you a seat. I'll turn the meeting over to our new chairman.
Thank you all for your patience while we did the transition. I also want to welcome Councilor Kress to the council. And first item, please.
Is the executive session, order 2014-254, to go into executive session for 1 MRSA, section 405, 6A, personnel matters, town manager's evaluation.
I'll open the floor for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? We will be moving in the council office right next door. We'll be back in about 15 minutes.
What you buy. Where you gonna put it? You don't have to. You can't.
All right, I'd like to bring the council meeting for December 2nd, 2014 back to order. We're going to come out of executive session with Councilor Lunt and Councilor Bickford seconding the motion. And we're going to start with roll call.
Counselor Garrison?
Present.
Counselor Bickford?
Yeah.
Counselor Pesky?
Here.
Counselor Brunel?
Here.
Counselor Kraps?
Here.
Counselor Mutidi?
Yeah.
And Counselor Lunt.
Here.
Next item, please.
Is good news and recognition?
I would open the floor for good news and recognition. Any over here? All right. I do have three things. I was able to attend the Thanksgiving lunch at the Mary T. Moore School, or Mary T. Moore Center, that Mark and his staff put on. There's about 70 people there that were taking part of the event. There's also a town manager there from Poland was looking into how we run the senior center at these MTM. So it's great to see that Lisbon is, being looked at as a model, for lack of better terms, for a senior program. I also wanted to recognize Coach Moynihan being named Campbell Conference Coach of the Year, and Coach Ridley being named the Assistant Coach of the Year for the Campbell Conference. It's a great thing to have in Lisbon's cap for those two gentlemen that coach a great football team. So that's what I got. Anything else? Next item, please.
Is the public hearing amendments to Chapter 70 zoning ordinance, Division 5 signs, and repealing Chapter 62 site plans, Section 62, 169 signs.
I'd open the public hearing. Anybody? Seeing none? Close the public hearing. Next item, please.
Is the second public hearing is for the junkyard permits for Campbell's Used Auto Parts and Houston's Auto Salvage.
I'll open public hearing. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. And next item, please.
Is audience participation. At this time, those in the audience who wish to address the council may come forward to address items or issues that are on the agenda for this meeting.
I'll open the floor for any audience participation for agenda items only. Mr. Warren?
Steve Warren from Lisbon. On the agenda tonight is working rules, and congratulations on democracy, giving a fresh opportunity to define yourself. And I think this is a tremendous opportunity to improve the quality of communication that's going on in town and actually open it up so that the community feels like you're listening. And the working rules have been used too often to stifle public comment. And if anything, you should encourage people to come, and especially if they bring a point of view that you maybe haven't recognized, something different than the way you already see things, maybe what's been presented previously. That is the democratic process that you should be celebrating. And so having the working rules allow for the public to comment as much as possible instead of using them to prevent public comment would be a tremendous improvement. And specifically, the rule that's been used in the past to say that comments have to be made before the information is presented is so ludicrous that it should be obvious to anybody that nobody is going to speak on something before they hear the matter. So the way this should be done is that when the matter is brought up, the public gets to comment, okay? That's when you need people's input, not before the matter is presented. So, and then the final item is new business. It's been presented as new business. the public can come forward with. This should not be restricted to just new business. If there's some piece of information that perhaps was not considered earlier, there should be an opportunity for the public to come back and say, you need to take this into consideration. So working rules should not rule out the public commenting even at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Any other public comment for agenda items? Seeing none, next item, please.
Audience participation response.
I appreciate your comment, Mr. Warren. I'm sure the council does as well. And if you stick around for our meeting, we will be discussing the working rules later on, and we'll see where it goes from there. Next item, please.
Is the consent agenda. Any counselor wishing to have any item removed may do so now. Seeing none. Order 2014-255 to approve the minutes of November 18, 2014, and a renewal junkyard permit for Campbell's Used Auto Parts and Houston's Auto Salvage.
Open the floor for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
7 yes, 0 no. Order passed, 7-0.
Next item, please.
Council orders, ordinances, and resolutions. Ordinance Order 2014-256 to repeal Chapter 62 Site Plans, Section 62-169 signs. This is the second reading. A roll call vote is required.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Is there any discussion from council? We've seen this, I think, 3 or 4 times, it seems like. All right. No discussion. Ready for a vote?
Counselor Lund?
Yes.
Counselor Garrison?
Yes.
Counselor Bickford?
Yes.
Counselor Brownell?
Yes.
Counselor McTevier?
Yes.
Counselor Crafts?
Yes.
And Counselor Pesky?
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays, order passed.
Next item, please.
Is an ordinance, Order 2014-257, to amend Chapter 70 zoning, Division 5 signs. Second reading, a roll call vote is required.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Once again, we've seen this before. All right, Twyla?
Okay, Counselor Crafts?
Yes.
Counselor Bickford?
Yes.
Counselor Garrison?
Yes.
Counselor Pesky?
Yes.
Counselor McTevier?
Yes.
And Counselor Brunel?
Yes.
And Counselor Lund?
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays, order passed.
All right.
Next item, please.
Ordinance, Order 2014-258 to amend Chapter 70, Zoning Division 13, Section 70-531, non-domestic animals. This is the first reading. A roll call vote is required.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion from council? This, we have not seen before. Any
Can we get an explanation on the, it's from the,
Sure.
from the planning board or the code enforcement officer?
Council?
Well,
Essentially, this is worked on the, what we classify non-domestic animals. The definition in our ordinance is literally any animal that doesn't live in the house as a pet. It doesn't distinguish between a chicken and a cow or a horse. It's really that broad. Had quite a bit of issues actually since I've been here on that. Primarily chickens, roosters being the major issue. A lot of them small in-town lots that if the zoning allows, which for the most part we allow in all but 2 zones right now. A lot of them are small in-town lots and allows, and it causes a lot of trouble for the animal control, the police department, and myself. So trying to come up with a way to fix it in the easy way. I think we came up with the easiest version of this, what you have there. Small change. There were 2 zones, I'm not looking at them, diversified development and village, the only 2 zones that didn't allow non-domestic animals. What we actually propose is to actually allow them in those zones, but adding a note, you'll see, I think it's note 13, which would be just an added note to the bottom of our land use chart there, which would say the minimum square footage of 40,000 square feet. So it puts just under an acre of land as a minimum lot size to be able to do it. So what we've done is actually eliminated all the small in-town lot stuff by putting a minimum lot size. So we've actually added commercial zone and diversified development, or village, whichever village zone, to actually allow them. I've had instances in the village zone that they have 3.5, 4 acres of property and they're not allowed to have chickens. So this actually allows it in all zones, which makes it very easy. We know they're allowed everywhere, 40,000 square foot minimum lot size. So I think it was a good compromise, and it's actually gonna fix a major problem that I've had since I've been here, so that's really the summary on it.
Are there any questions for Mr. Douglas?
How are you dealing with non-compliance? Say if somebody has a horse and they refuse to remove it, is there a fine or?
That'd be animal control. Animal control would take care of it.
Okay.
You know, and sometimes they respond, they come to me, and we work together on the animal issues. We do have ordinances in place in regards to noise and nuisance, so that can also kick in depending on what it is. A noisy rooster in the zone that's allowed, that's causing trouble, we have a ways to deal with that through the noise or nuisance ordinance. So there was some discussion to get further in depth someday down the road on the non-domestic animal, because it is quite broad. When I say it goes from horses to chickens, there's nothing that distinguishes them in between. But did a lot of research on what other towns are doing. They're not as broad on a non-domestic animal, but a lot of towns actually have rooster or chicken ordinances in place specific to those, because that's where most of the problems lie. So.
I have attended most of these meetings, and I will say that they have discussed it in depth with a lot of humor and a lot of concern, and I think they've come up with a couple of good.
If an individual has an animal that will be restricted from this ordinance, and they already have it, they'll be grandfathered, correct?
Yeah, and that's gonna be a hard part as far as policing that, because, you know, there's nobody out there knowing if a chicken dies and they replace it. You know, it's gonna be very hard to police that, so it's really gonna be going forward, new people coming in that are looking to do it, but there will be a transition period of some of the existing that's essentially gonna be grandfathered. You know, they've had them, they've been allowed to have them, and we're making the change, so.
It's a fair thing to do, so. Any other questions or comments from council? Thank you very much. All right, with that, we have a motion from Councilor Bickford and a second from Councilor Mativier. We have no other discussion. Take a vote.
Council Lent?
Yes.
Councilor Brunel?
Yes.
Councilor McPevier?
Yes.
Councilor Pesky?
Yes.
Councilor Kraft?
Yes.
Councilor Bickford?
Yes.
And Councilor Garrison?
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays, order passed.
Next item, please.
It's an ordinance, Order 2014-259, to amend Chapter 70 zoning, Division 14, Section 70's 564, dimensional requirements. This is the first reading. Roll call vote is required.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. And Mr. Douglas, could you give us a brief explanation on this as well, please?
This one's a little more complicated. I'll try not to bore you with it, but you have a stack of paper there. There's literally only a couple of changes. Quite frankly, it's actually clarification and a mistake in our ordinance. This has to do with the difference between impervious surface ratio and lot coverage. There's two different animals. Lot coverage is the building itself on the property in relation to the percentage you're allowed to cover on that property. Impervious ratio or surface ratio is driveway, pavement, building, all that, anything that essentially water can't, you know, go through the ground is called impervious surface ratio. So we have two different categories. Unfortunately, our ordinance, the way it's written right now, mixes the two up back and forth. So from a code enforcement standpoint, it's been virtually impossible to figure it out, so we had to clean up the language. So the very first page, the only change on there, if you go to the bottom, minimum is crossed out because it's supposed to be maximum. It's just a mistake in the language. It's maximum lot coverage, not minimum lot coverage. There's no such thing as a minimum lot coverage. So it's just fixing that. And then the only, at the very bottom, you'll see in the gray area, it says maximum lot coverage. We added in parentheses impervious surface ratio, because that's actually what it's referring to is the impervious surface, not the building only. So we had to fix that, so it clarified it. We're looking at our charts. And if you skip all the way to the last page, I believe I just copied the entire ordinance. You had the whole thing to review. There were no changes except to the end. And again, down under section 70-815, you'll see maximum lot coverage by impervious surface. We had to add that in there because lot coverage, again, by definition, is the building only. What they're trying to say here, if you read further, it says in brackets, footprint of structures, parking, and non-vegetative surfaces. That's the impervious surface ratio. So you had to actually add that language because lot coverage is only the building itself. So it's just clarifying so you can actually follow the chart and make sense of the percentages. And the same with the maximum lot coverage below. We added the impervious surface language. And again, under variance limitations, same thing, just added impervious surface ratio. That's just to make it match what it actually, how it actually reads. So it's just really language changing. We didn't actually change anything on the ordinance or any percentages or anything like that. So it's just fixing it so I can actually understand what it means and enforce it.
Any discussion or comments, questions regarding this ordinance change?
Have you had a chance to run this by our lawyer yet, just to make sure that he's okay?
I don't do lawyers, so that'd be up to you guys if you wanted to or no.
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of making sure it works well, since you're trying to fix up the language.
Yep, that'd be up to, you know, welcome to that, but.
Thank you.
Mostly just correct it. Right.
Mark, do you want to send this off to Attorney Stockford to take a look at it?
I think we might, this might make sense, just we have 2 weeks anyway until the next reading. It would make sense to, at least take a look over it, make sure there's nothing that jumps out at it.
So you want to go ahead with this one?
Go ahead and just send it to him for, make sure he's okay with it.
I give it all the dummy that idea.
Any other discussion? All right, we have a motion from Councilor Bickford and second from Councilor Garrison. We'll take a vote.
All right. Counselor Pesky?
Yes.
And Counselor McTevier?
Yes.
And Counselor Crafts?
Yes.
And Counselor Burnett?
Yes.
Counselor Bickford?
Yes.
And Counselor Lunt?
Yes.
And Counselor Garrison?
Yes.
7 yeses, 7 nays, one pass.
Next item, please.
Order 2014-260, council working rules.
This is an item that I had added to the agenda. I figured it was a late agenda tonight, and this is something that we should look at, or we have in the past every year. So I just want to bring it up and see if there is anything anybody wanted to change with this, keep it as it is and move forward, or whatever anybody wants to do, but I want to make sure that we got it off the checklist to do. So I will open the floor for a motion, and then we can discuss it after that.
I'll make that motion.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Is there any discussion regarding the working rules?
The only thing that I would like changed or talked about is nothing with the rules for the council, but all workshops. I would like to have the chair be able to let people talk at the end on some workshops, or at the workshops that you want. If there are gonna be a few, and there's gonna be a lot of workshops this season. I'd like to be able to tell the people right up front, there's gonna be no discussion this time because it's a short workshop. It's gonna be, as you know, we get some come up, they're gonna be very short. And it's basically just for a councilor and one person. So that's all I wanna be, I would like to have it changed, just meet that, not for everyone, just for certain workshops at the.
I'm gonna say that's pretty much covered.
Yeah, it is covered in the
Under
current.
number 4, it's up to the chair.
Up to the chair.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
And that's the discussion we've had, for the past year, is some of us want that discussion to take place at the end, and some don't, so we've always been going back and forth that it is the chair's discretion, not that can happen or not. And I will say right now that if anybody has an objection to have the public speak, I won't let it happen. Or if, start a meeting tonight and somebody wants to speak and there's, and I acknowledge them and there's an objection, I'm not gonna let that happen because we gotta work together by the council working rules.
That's good.
I would think we should consider what Mr. Warren said. I don't think that's a bad thing. We got a time limit on how much they can speak anyway. To let them, if it's old business, if we've gone over, if they want to talk about something at the end, I'm not objecting to doing that.
I think under our current rules, with the audience participation for new items, that is anything that's covered.
And not only that, if you look under number 5 in our working rules, under B, public comment on agenda items, there is public comment allowed at the chair's discretion. So I think those need to, flag Dylan down if they want to get something they have a real important, information to bring forward. There is a way to get, a comment in there. It's Dylan's fault he doesn't let people talk.
You can always overrule it.
Blame it on Dylan.
I think we have to make sure that's clear to the public. They know that they can, try to get your attention if there's
Perhaps
something.
we need to
that
exercise that a little bit.
Yeah, make sure that it's known to people.
Once happens a couple of times, it's worth looking out.
All right.
So, Councilman TV, you just want to make sure under number 11 of our current agenda items, or if you're looking at the actual rules, letter K, you want to make sure that people know that can.
Right, because they're
cover
looking
anything.
at, say, new business, meaning that they can't talk about what we've already gone over. So I said they should be able to talk about even the stuff we've already.
Any business. Any business.
Right.
Instead of new business, any
Any
business.
business. Yeah, would be a better word for that.
Or even add the separation in there, go with what we talked about first, then move on to something.
New or old,
Yeah.
Just so we have it flow. But
Yeah, I think if people feel constricted by that, we can just allow it. It's not going to change too much there.
Do you want to change the wording?
Yeah, sure.
What would you propose to change, letter K, letter K to?
new or old or any, whichever.
Any, just do any
Any.
business?
I just take out new.
Yeah.
Any business.
So the end of
Any.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. Take care of that. Anything else? I know Mr. Fillmore doesn't want to be acknowledged, but I just want to make sure council has any more input, before we open it up.
All I can say, we can try a lot of the stuff, but we can change these rules anytime we want.
Anytime we want.
Yeah, I mean, we.
Mr. Fillmore?
I'm objecting, I mean. He's not paying attention.
Larry Fillmore from Lisbon. Years ago, when I first got involved in local government, we didn't have audience participation. We were allowed to speak on agenda items. It went like this. Council made a motion, they opened it up. The sponsor came first and explained why they're doing this. Then the council discussed it, and then they opened it up to the public in case the public had any additional information that pertained to that item. Once it was explained, now we're asked in audience participation to speak without the benefit of knowing why we're doing something. Probably would already be answered in the sponsor by telling us what's going on. So if you took out audience participation and audience response, you're opening up more. You're going to allow the people to speak. Now, you got the time limit on it. Dylan has the discretion. So why do we need an audience participation? Let's just eliminate that in the response and go back to the way it was years ago. That's what Mr. Warren was talking about. Asking people to speak on something they don't have a clue what's going on is not right, okay? And that's the part that's most disgusting and is really, hurts us in the long run. How many people get up here and speak at these meetings? Dot, raise your hand, okay? It's you and me. How long does it take? We got a time limit. God, come on, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Warren?
Steve Warren from Lisbon. A perfect example of the way it should work is an item that you just discussed. If you had opened it up to public comment on the zoning change, I've had quite a bit of involvement in this area, and I think it would have improved your decision-making to allow comment such as the appropriate use of zoning is to prevent things that are incompatible from being next to each other. So the appropriate way to modify this ordinance would be to make it conditional, so that the use.
Mr. Warren, we're not discussing the previous
No, what I'm
ordinance.
s- what I'm
asking for your
what I'm
input on the,
explaining is-
on the council working rules, and that's it.
But what I'm saying is that that would be the appropriate way for you to get the public input, rather than ask people to come up ahead of time, or, you know, some other, that is the appropriate time to open it up and say, does anybody from the public have any comment on this?
Thank you very much. Mr. Fellows?
Well, since you seem to have made this a hearing, I'm going to just say a couple of words. I think the council needs to remember that this is your meeting, not the people in the room's meeting. And the point of a hearing would be that you hear from everybody in general. I understand the need for the public to express themselves, but I think any changes to your rules, if I were to poll each of you tonight and ask you how many of you looked at the rules before you came in the room, I probably wouldn't get unanimous. So what I'm saying is, if all of you went home with them and thought about them, read them, and perhaps made changes after you've studied them and thought about them, you'd be better off than trying to make them right here on the spur of the moment.
Thank you. So I'll open it up to council. If somebody wants to make a motion for a change, you can, definitely, it's welcome. If not, that's fine as well.
We're gonna take it home, wait a little bit.
Move the table till next
Table.
meeting. Although I'd make that with the preface of number 5, we need to take out the G followed by G.
Yeah.
And may or may not have been at fault for that.
I think we addressed it at the last meeting when we took care of this, because I think I had pointed it out.
No, I missed that.
Still
So-
a typo.
Yes.
So we blame Twyla for it not being fixed.
Still a typo.
Okay, we have I think you got 2 councilors that want to table this for further review. Good with that? We don't need a vote on that, correct?
You can motion to table.
Okay.
You can bring this motion back up at the next meeting to adopt the council rules, and you can make an amendment then if you want.
Okay. I'd open the floor for a motion to table.
You have the motion on the floor, and Mr. Dictator.
Oh, that's right, so do we need to,
To table.
motion to table, but we've already made the motion to adopt, so we need to
And
amend. Okay. You got that?
Sure.
I'll make a motion to amend
Okay. To table.
the table.
And we have a second?
Second to that.
All right. All those in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Next item, please.
Order 2014-261, board and committee liaison assignments.
This is another item that council does every year during the organizational meeting. In your packet, you will see page 77, all the list of the boards and committees, the location of the meetings, the time, and then second column is the council that's assigned to be the liaison for this committee and the committee. So what I would like to do is just go right down through the list, and anyone that wants to take that committee, speak up, and you can have the joy of attending those meetings. For Councilor Crafts, what this is, it's an opportunity for us to be informed of what's going on in those committees, and then under council communications, if you go to one of those meetings, if there's something, really important, you can share that with the council so we're all up to date, and try to keep our arms wrapped around what's happening in town with all the committees that are going on. Does anybody see or notice that a committee is missing from this list? I did not see anything that was missing.
There was one more that should be taken off.
The trails and,
Conservation.
Okay.
Scout conservation.
right,
It's just a new name, conservation now.
Yep.
and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this was merged with number 5. Okay. The appeals board. You would like to take that? I will. Assessment review.
I'll keep that one.
Okay. Finance Committee, I'll take that one. Those are always interesting. Revolving Loan Committee,
I'll keep that one.
okay. Conservation, that was,
I will do that probably on every other month.
okay.
I'll take the one that you know.
Okay.
All right, there's enough communication between you two, so you can keep that straight. Ethics Panel, I'll take that one. Library Governing Board,
I'll stick with that.
okay. MTM Board of Directors, that is typically Monday morning or Tuesday at 9 a.m. I cannot make those.
No, I couldn't either.
Stick me down there for now.
Okay.
I'll take it. I think
Planning Board,
I need classes.
Council Brunel doesn't want it, I'll do it, because
I think I made 2 meetings in a year, so yes, Rod, you can have it.
okay.
Recreation Committee. They have actually gone to meeting quarterly. They're no longer meeting the second and fourth. I mean the first Monday of the month.
So what they do it, when now?
Quarterly. Because they're having issues with members, and they're not having as much discussion and so forth as they were in the past, so
All
they.
right, I'll take it.
Route 196 Master Plan Committee, I cannot take that one.
Yeah, I could probably do that.
Okay. School Committee, I'll take that one.
I'll make as many as I can, partially.
School Facilities Committee. Anybody want that one?
Take it if no one else wants it.
I mean, don't you have to take it.
No, it sounds interesting, I just,
Okay. It is.
I don't know when they're meeting, but.
It is a very interesting committee, to say the least. There's a lot
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot of
I
great
think, yes.
people on that committee with a lot going on in the school, especially right now. And Mr. Green can put you on the email list, and that's how they typically arrange them.
Okay.
Send an email. Trails Committee, Trails Commission, we demolished that. Utilities Committee,
There's 3 of us on
yep, I'll put my name down for that.
Yeah, I'm still on there.
Who are the 3? Oh, the same 3?
that. Yeah.
Myself, Roger, and Eric. Voter Registration Appeal, I'll take that one. And Water Commission.
I go with
All right.
Yeah, I've been on.
I think we need to give Mr. Kraft something. You could double up with somebody else if you want for a while and just do an interest.
You can take one of mine if you want, or any of them, or just go to those meetings, meetings you want to go to, doesn't matter.
that. I'm going to water department with us.
There'll be 4 of us there.
Oh, half the time you wait there.
No. Once in a while I surprise you.
Yeah, I'll take that one.
Okay. So we'll change the Water Commission from Roger to Councilor Crafts. All right. Do we have a motion, or I'll open the floor for a motion to approve the 2014-15 Council Board and Committee liaisons?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. And we have a first, we have a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Order 214-262 to set the date to discuss upcoming police department budget.
This item here, if you remember a few meetings ago, Councilor Bickford had asked the council for permission to do a budget subcommittee for the police department. After a conversation with Manager Barnes, they have decided that it is best that we as a council do that together, because we don't officially have subcommittees, and if subcommittees are something we want to do, we should formally do that. So this item is for Council Bickford, per request, to have a meeting with the police department chief, with Diane, and kind of discuss where we'd like to see that department budget go. It is going to be a tricky discussion because we don't really have a lot of information right now, but I think it's beneficial for the council and for Chief Brooks since he's requested for this to happen. I was thinking that we could do it December 16th and do a workshop from 6:30 to 7 because we'll have an executive session personnel matter to deal with after that meeting,
That's this next year.
which is our next council meeting.
And I would, if you have any
Well,
questions
ahead of
to
yourself.
ask the chief, I would like to be prepared, because basically, we're gonna kind of go around tell him what we'd like to see done, and then he can go and do his thing, and come back to us with what, yeah. Basically, he wanted direction.
And we'll make sure that when we do that, we give that direction to Diane and the chief at the same time so they can do that together. Essentially, we want to work through the manager to get that stuff done. Does anybody have an objection to December 16th at
How much
6:30?
do we have on agenda? And do we think that's only gonna take a half hour?
I don't foresee us taking more than a half hour for that discussion.
It's
Okay.
basically just, he might come back with a couple little things,
Okay.
but it's basically, I've talked to him about it, it's gonna be, we're just gonna give him, and he can go figure it out.
Okay.
And then come back to us.
No, I don't have a problem.
Okay.
I just wanna make sure.
Anybody have a problem with that workshop time, schedule, anything? All right, so open the floor for a motion to set that budget workshop for the police department.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second. Third.
All right, we'll take Councilor Garrison. All those in favor?
Voted passed, 7-0.
Thank you.
Will the public be able to attend?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Workshop,
Yep.
yeah.
I'm sorry, Dot, I didn't see your hand, I was busy writing.
I figured you.
Next item, please.
We have no other business, it would be audience participation for new items.
It's time to open the floor for audience participation for new items. Art?
Council, just wanted to invite, next Monday, the finance review is gonna be taking time to review the audit that just went by, and expand it a little bit, just so we understand the audit coming up this budget season, what's in it, what's not, and trying to help, if we can help it all next year, directing that audit at all, as far as how it works. So next Monday, we're actually getting the finance review committee. Dylan and I are invited to be there, but I'm inviting the whole council if they'd like to go, and to hopefully we can take a look at the audit and just get a really good idea of where we stand. And there's a lot of information in there, so we spent quite a bit of money for it, so we just want to expand and make sure we're getting all the information we can out of it. So again, I want to just invite the whole council if they have an opportunity to go.
7 o'clock.
It's actually earlier than that. We actually start at 6. So,
Okay.
yep. So, and also, if possible, would be for, if you are going to do that information with the police department, could we actually invite the finance committee formally to actually sit as in the audience? It'd just be nice to actually have them aware of what's happening.
We just want a special email sent out to you guys, so they're aware of that
Exactly.
process.
That would be awesome, because we are trying to participate in many events we can. We did actually sit through the school board actually had their budget goal setting for their budget coming up, and I think it's important for us to actually be part of all that to get a good handle on this year's budget.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. I do have one question for you, Fern. For the finance committee reviewing the audit findings, I did see that agenda come out today, and I was wondering, will it be finance director and the town manager there, or have you guys requested to have the audit firm there as well?
No, we didn't request, pretty much what we're gonna do is we asked all the members to actually review the audit and send any questions that they have ahead. But besides that, we're just gonna do a general, overview of it, look at the undesignated funds, look at our history in the past, where we are today, and just kind of get a good idea of what the audit presented to us. So hopefully next year you have a new company doing the audit, that before they get on, they have a good idea. Because I think a lot of that is directed by the council and the management of what they want for the audit to actually show. We've been with the same firm for forever, so I mean it's really going to be kind of interesting next year when we have a different firm doing the audit. And I think a lot of that, how that presentation is going to be to the public and to the council, is going to need to be directed ahead of time to actually say this is what we've had in the past and this is what we expect. So it's just more or less looking at the audit And there are a few things that were actually commented as concerns. I mean, very few. We actually had a really good audit, but it would be nice for our group, as written in our goals, is to actually kind of follow up on those to find out if there was any questions on things that need to be addressed, if they have been addressed in the way they were. I believe they already have been from both sides, but it's just a matter of making the formality to actually show that we were doing it. So it's nice to get an audit. We spend a lot of money on it. If they do ask for some recommendations, it is nice to follow up and show that the recommendations are being actually followed up. So again, it's just more of an informal, reviewing of the audit. Unfortunately, when it's done in a formal setting, not many people ask questions because it's a very involved process. We're hoping to have a very kind of candid, open discussion so we can get an idea of what that audit is. And again, we had a great audit, so it's very easy to discuss a great audit. So I invite you to come.
Great, thank you very much. Next item, please. Oh, I'm sorry.
Steve Warren from Lisbon. There's been some discussion in recent weeks about Lisbon's bidding processes and I think our public image and public confidence in our processes could be greatly enhanced by changing some policies. I think you recognized, and I've worked with both of the contractors who are involved in the school gym, and I have a great deal of confidence that either one of them could do the job very nicely. But the public confidence that money is being spent prudently is very important. And in the past, it has not been the policy to go with low bid automatically. And that's fairly unique to Lisbon, I think, that we really undermine the credibility of the process by not maintaining the standards that are statewide and basically nationwide. So when you have any bid come before you, there needs to be a very, very strong, compelling reason not to go with the low bid if they are apples to apples. So it can start with you. You can't necessarily decide for the school department on how they take their bids, but in the past, it has not been the rule here that low bid is the way to go, and in fact it should be.
Thank you. Anyone else for audience participation, new business? Next item, please.
Council's response to new items.
Thank you, Fern, for giving us that update and letting the council know, because I'm sure some of us will be there to hear what's going on. The Finance Committee is always asking for direction, something to do, so this should be a very interesting discussion. Mr. Warren, your comment on the bid process not being followed here in Lisbon for low bid, always starting with the town council. I can honestly and personally tell you that that's been one of my focuses since I've been on the council, and you're well aware of many articles that have come to this council that we have denied from the manager's recommendation. We've also, any time that we don't go public or low bid, I don't know one time that we haven't said why we haven't gone with low bid. We've been very open and transparent about that. And with your comment regarding policy change, I'd be more than happy to formally take an email or a memo from you to address to the council with any policy changes you would like to see. Can't say it's going to happen, but I would like to see that from you if you want to make that comment here tonight, because it's always nice to see public get involved and provide us with input. Any other comment from council? Next item, please.
Is appointments. Order 2014-263. Recreation Committee, 1 regular member, term expiring June 30th, 2017.
I reviewed this. Mr. Ward, I was looking at my last packet from last week. Didn't we already appoint Mr. Ward?
To some committee, I'm not sure what this one is. I don't know which one it was.
Maybe,
It's the minutes. Was it the rec? So we did that one.
I thought it was, okay. So we don't have to take any action on that, right, Kyle?
Let's do the Libby one.
All right, perfect. Is there a motion from council?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay. Any discussion? Is Mr. Wade here? No? Any discussion from council? All right. All those in favor?
7-0.
Thank you. And next item, please.
Councilor Communications.
We'll start over there with Council Garrison. Do you have anything? All right. Council Glenn?
I want to make sure that people are aware of the situation that's going on in the Androscoggin County government at the moment, where the County Budget Committee voted to set a certain amount of pay and benefits for the council, the county commissioners. And according to the county charter, that is the purview of the budget committee. That was one of the items that the charter was sold to people on. The idea that the county commissioners weren't going to be set their own budget and their own benefits anymore for themselves, because in the past they've been giving themselves free health care for life. And I think most of us would like to get that for, a few hours a week of, part-time job. That is really outrageous. And so this committee, which I was appointed to, set them just a few $1,000s as a stipend and no more health insurance. And they decided to go and violate the county charter by just giving themselves back their health insurance anyway, because apparently they don't believe in the rule of law. So I'd like people to be aware this is going on, and it's been in the newspaper. I'd like to encourage people to keep following up on this. There will be more action. The Budget Committee is now asking the Attorney General for an opinion on that, so we can see where that's going to go from here, but it's not going to end here.
Good for you, Matt.
Council Matier? Council Victor?
Looking out here at the audience, I just, Larry's always here, and so isn't Dot. They're regulars. There is one that's missing, and I would like to hope that she gets well soon and starts coming back and aggravated us, and that's Mrs. Berry. So, I kind of miss her. I'll just leave it at that.
Councilor Crafts, do you have any council communication? Councilor Brunel?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. I do have just a few things. December 6th, this coming Saturday, very Main Street will be happening. The flyer is available on the Facebook page for the Town of Lisbon and for the Positive Change Lisbon. The caroling will start at 4:30, and then they'll move down to Main Street, and I believe Fern will be sponsoring hay rides for the time down there, right?
Correct.
And let's see. I also wanted to let the public know, since our last council meeting, Justice Nancy Mills did rule yesterday, or she gave her ruling yesterday on the school awarding the bid. She did rule that it did have to go to low bid, which was Landry and French. That article is available on the WMTW Channel 8 website. They did air it last night as well, if you want to follow up on that. And any other discussion?
It's on the Sun Journal website too.
Oh,
There's an
great.
article about that.
Great. Next item, please.
Do you need another executive session?
We will be going back in.
Okay, so executive session order 2014-265 to go into executive session for 1 MRSA section 405-6A personnel matters, town manager's evaluation.
Open the floor for a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All right, and when we do come out, there will be no action followed tonight. All those in favor?
7-0.
All right. Yeah, you guys.
Meeting here or
Yeah,
there?
we'll meet here. We'll just take a 5-minute break.
And I know for these two
3 days.